Thank you. So as I walked up here on stage, you all probably made some assumptions about me. Clean-cut guy, middle class, probably pretty conservative, sort of looks like Paul Rudd. And I'm sure the next thought into your head is, hey, that guy must be super into drugs. But I'm not. I'm actually terrified of taking any drugs. And the reason why I'm terrified is because I was convinced growing up my entire life that I would become that example that high school health class teachers would tell their students. The ones where they'd say, oh, you guys want to try pot? Oh, no, that's terrific. Let me tell you a little story about Brian Irzyk. Tried pot once, raped his own face. So I was terrified that that would happen, so I never did drugs. But recently, I helped my friend Doug move. And Doug gave me 2 pot Rice Krispie treats as a thank you. So I took them home. Being a white middle-class person, I had a discussion with my wife. And we came to the conclusion that we were going to eat this pot. And again, being white middle-class people, we scheduled time on a Sunday night to get high. Now what you need to know about these Rice Krispie treats is they were each about the size of a CD, about 6 by 6 and about 1/2 inches thick. And Doug didn't give me any instructions, and since I don't know anything about pot and I'm a regular guy, we each ate 1 entire pot Rice Krispie treat. Now those of you that don't know, we spotted the pot users in the crowd, which always works. When you eat pot, it's called an edible, and it's usually designed to be stronger and last longer than if you smoked it. So these pot Rice Krispie treats were designed to take 1 bite and get you high for about 5 or 6 hours. And it took me about 15 bites to get through the sucker. And it was the worst tasting thing I had ever had in my entire life. It was awful. The only way I can describe it is, you know when you're passing by a homeless guy on the street and you get hit in that face with like that pungent homeless guy smell? Well, the next time that happens, I want you to turn around and eat that guy. Because that's exactly what they tasted like. So I was starting to go through what I was completely terrified about. I had unknowingly ingested enough pot to get a building high. And I realized, looking back, that I actually went through the 5 stages of grief. Which are stages that people go through when they're dealing with a traumatic experience. And those stages are denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and finally acceptance. So immediately I was in denial that I was high. I just kept sitting there going, I'm not high. I don't feel anything. What's going on? These things aren't working. Doug's trying to play a trick on me. Doug's an asshole. Fuck Doug! My wife Julia stood up and said, I'm so not high, I'm going to go into the kitchen and start eating a 2-pound bag of almonds. I stood up and said, I'm so not high, I'm going to call Doug, and I pulled out my wallet and tried to call him with my wallet. So then Julia came back from the kitchen with a bag of almonds, a bottle of water, and she was wearing a Texas Longhorns baseball cap. And she starts eating the almonds and drinking the water, and at one point, the cap of the water falls into the bag of almonds, and she casually says, oh, I hope I don't eat this cap. And I immediately slip into some sort of paranoid state, and I look at her baseball cap, and I look at her, and I look at her baseball cap, and I say, Julia, you cannot eat that baseball cap. You cannot eat that great big hat in your little mouth, Julia, if you eat that cap, Julia, if you eat that cap and you start choking on it, I will not save you, Julia. You've been warned, I will not save you. Why are your eyes completely black? Oh my God, I've married a shark. So I had accepted that I was high, and I moved into the anger phase because I asked her for an almond, and I put the almond in my mouth, and I could not bite down through that almond. I could not make my mouth work. I actually put it between my teeth and did that thing in the cartoons where they go like, and I couldn't make it work. So I jammed that almond in the top of my cheeks and just left it there. And that's when I discovered that I had forgotten how to walk. I could not make my legs move. But I turned to Julia and I told Julia not to worry. That even though I had forgotten to walk, if a fire broke out, I was reasonably sure I could reteach myself how to walk quickly so that I could then save us. And that's when I started getting depressed. because I had convinced myself that in order to marry me, Julia had to break up with the TV character Chachi on Happy Days. Not the actor, the actual character. And I got depressed because I had broken my brain. And I was going to stay that way for the rest of my life. And that's when I started bargaining. I started praying to every god that I knew about. I prayed to Jesus, I prayed to Buddha, I prayed to Allah, I prayed to Mother Earth, I prayed to the Christian God, I prayed to the Jewish God, which is pretty similar to the Christian God, only there's a couple of differences that I don't realize. I prayed to Morgan Freeman, just in case. And I prayed for them to remove this highness from my brain and make me normal. But it didn't happen. And I accepted I was going to be this way for the rest of my life. And I turned to my lovely wife, Julia, and I said, Julia, I'm broken. I'm a handicapped person. Just put me in a home and drive away. Don't come and visit me because my face will be all messed up because of all the self-raping that I'll be doing in the home. Just drive away. And she told me to go to bed. And I went to bed and I woke up the next morning and I was feeling amazing. I felt young, I felt enthusiastic, I felt exactly like I should have felt if I had taken one bite of that pot Rice Krispie. So you know what I did? I spit out that almond. I called in sick and I went to Disneyland and I had the best day of my entire life. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.